it's Sam here from Anything Goes Lifestyle. Today for our second video of the year, I'm going to be talking to you about a hard-hitting subject, but one that is so important: cervical cancer. It is Cervical Cancer Week, an initiative that was launched by Joe's Trust. And the initiative is designed to raise awareness about cervical cancer and encourage you to go for your screening. So I want to talk to you today about some of the statistics around cervical cancer and my personal experience of going for a screening and why I want to encourage you to book your test. So I thought it might be helpful to talk a bit around the background of cervical cancer and why you're invited to a screening. So it is thought that 99.97% of cervical cancer is caused by a HPV infection. This infection is caused by skin-to-skin contact in the genital region. And it is thought that 80% of sexually active people will develop this infection at some point in their lives. Now, when you're invited for your screening, this is predominantly what they're checking for. When they take your sample, they are looking for strains of the HPV virus. If it is detected, your cells are then looked into further to see if there has been any changes. Following that, that's when you receive your letter that tells you one way or the other. Just to sort of bring some light to it for you, is I had my screening test done in December 2019, my last one, and my letter that came back to me basically highlighted that I was HPV negative, and therefore my risk of having any abnormal cells or developing cervical cancer at that time was low. But of course, as highlighted, it could be developed later on in my life. And so going for the screening every 3 years is important to check for that virus and to see if there have been any changes. Ultimately, cervical cancer is preventable. And by going for your screening, you can actually save your life. Even putting it off by just a few months can really make the difference from having minimal changes in your cells to significantly change cells that will require extensive surgery. So it's really important that as soon as you get your letter and are invited for a screening, that you go ahead and get yourselves booked in. Now, a couple of other statistics to kind of highlight you to is that the other thing with cervical cancer and particularly changes in the cells is that generally speaking, there are no symptoms present. And because of that, going for your screening really is one of the only ways to help prevent you getting or developing cervical cancer. And it's really important to highlight that 1/3 of women die from cervical cancer every single year. By booking your screening, you are saving a life. Some of the other issues, there are a couple of issues in attending a screening that have been highlighted through extensive research from Joe's Trust. Some of them include people putting it off, not making time to go for their screening, concerns about body image and odour, fear of the examination itself, feel like it doesn't apply to them, and scarily 20% of women would rather not know if there was something wrong. And as highlighted, really going for your screening is, yes, you might be told that there are some abnormal cells, but those cells can be eliminated, they can be banished, and it can stop cervical cancer being present. And if there are cells present, sometimes you might be invited for a screening a lot sooner, just so they can kind of monitor the developments. So you really are in the best care if you take action as soon as possible. You are generally invited for a screening from the age of 25 every 3 years, but there are a significant number of women and girls under that age that do develop cervical cancer. If you are in the age bracket where you are invited, it is a privilege really to be invited to have that preventable examination of preventable cancer. So, and a couple of the other issues that I've highlighted about body image, fear of the examination itself, I'm hoping that by sharing my personal experience, I can encourage you to go for your examination. I've had a couple of screenings over my lifetime, and as soon as I get my letter, I book myself in for the test. No one had ever told me that that was something I needed to do, but receiving my letter, being invited for a screening, I saw it as essential to do so. And as highlighted to my partner the other day, one of the reasonings behind that is that we get fair few opportunities to prevent disease and in our lifetimes. So we are very rarely invited for any screenings to kind of prevent disease or cancers. This is one of the few. And so if I'm given that opportunity, I want to make the most of that, because if it can help save my life, I absolutely want to make sure I book myself in for that test. Now, it is, as you have probably heard, it can be quite uncomfortable to go for an examination. However, although it is uncomfortable, there is a slight discomfort to it. It only lasts moments. And generally speaking, the nurses that I have had do my examination have done many, many examinations, and they've even had to go for examinations themselves. They know what it's like to be in your shoes. So if you are concerned in any way whatsoever, talk to them. Let them know what your concerns are. You can even speak to a practitioner before you go in for your screening. And if you have a nurse that you have spoken to a number of times at your surgery, ask them for their feedback, their reassurance, alleviate any of your concerns with them. And now for the most part, you know, they really do want to make you feel comfortable as possible. So there are general mechanisms that they can do to kind of tilt your pelvis to make it as comfortable as possible. And as I say, it's mere moments, and they do everything to protect your modesty that they can do, and they really do put your mind at ease. I really do strongly advocate that you book yourself in for a screening as soon as you can if you have been invited to do so. And if you are noticing any abnormal changes, whether that's irregular bleeding, pain after sex, anything like that at all, you get in touch with your doctor's surgery and see someone to see if it might be worth getting an examination sooner. If you need further information and guidance, please do check out our website. We've talked previously about cervical cancer itself. We talk about cervical screenings. We talk about all the information that I have shared with you in the video today. I also encourage you to check out Joe's Trust websites, where there are a lot of personal stories and women's experience of either having cervical cancer or going for their screenings. There's a lot of information on there too, whether you're going through treatment yourself at the moment or you really are concerned about going for that test. And I have to say that once you get the first one done, when you go for that first test and you have that examination, it really does make and go for your next ones a lot easier. Also, I really, really want to hear from you, whether you've been for a screening, whether you're going through treatment, whatever your journey might be through cervical screening or cervical cancer, please do get in touch with us. Leave us comments in the video below, get in touch with us on social media, leave comments on our websites. We will get back to you, because your background, your story, it can really help save a life. So please do get in touch. I hope this has been informative, educational, and most importantly, I really hope it advocates you to book your test. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you very soon.